Khamzat Chimaev hints that his next fight will be at 185 pounds. I'll tell you why that might be a mistake. My name is James Lynch. Before we get into today's video, make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. Okay, I know I'm a little late on this video, but had to talk about Chimaev hinting that his next fight will take place in the middleweight division. Of course, he had a matchup on a silver platter at UFC 279 against Nate Diaz, which he missed weight by 8 pounds. I know there was a medical issue. He still missed weight. Let's call it like it is. So there are some concerns about him making 170, but I have a few questions about him deciding to move up to 85 first, and we're going to sort of go through those here right now. First and foremost, Khamzat Chimaev has 2 ranked wins at 170. He has a win over Li Jingliang, and he has a win over Gilbert Burns, 2 really good wins on the resume, and to me, there's a clear path to a title here at 170 right now if we're going off merit, because he has the 2 ranked wins. Now, I think if he was going to continue at 170 because he missed weight, he would need one more fight at 170. But honestly, I think whoever he was going to fight at 170, assuming he can make the weight, he would probably beat them. So I think that he was on a good path at 170. Now, is there serious weight issues? I don't know. Can he not make the weight anymore? That's possible. He did have a tough cut against Gilbert Burns, but he did end up making the weight. So that's kind of the first thing I question here is like, there's some unfinished business at 170, but hey, if he can't make the 170 pound limit anymore, then maybe it is time for him to move up to 185. So that's just sort of the first thing I wanted to mention, is you know, maybe he can't make the weight. I don't know. I'm not in Chimaev's camp. I don't know what his deal is with cutting weight, but missing by 8 pounds in a very easy matchup against Nate Diaz, that's not a good look. So maybe that is the case here. Because honestly, right now, if you look at 170, if we look at the rankings here, I mean, does he beat Leon Edwards? Maybe he does. I think there's a good chance he could beat Leon Edwards. Could he beat Kamaru Usman? It's possible. One of the advantages he has at 170 is the fact that he's so big and so strong, and he can kind of use his strength against a lot of these guys in the weight class. Can he beat Colby? Can he beat Bilal? Can he beat Jeff Neal? Can he beat Stephen Thompson or Sean Brady? I think he can. That's the thing. But him fighting at 185, can he beat those guys in the top 5? I'm not so sure. Just because he beat a Kevin Holland at 170 doesn't mean that he can necessarily, sorry, not 170. He beat Kevin Holland at a catchweight, I should mention. But you get my point here is that I don't think we know for sure if Chimaev can beat anyone in the top 5 at middleweight. So that's why I think there's a bit of a risk there. And let's get real here. You mentioned 185. He's not going to fight a Gerald Meerschaert or a John Phillips, I think was his opponent. Yeah, he's not going to fight these guys. He's going to fight a top 5 opponent at middleweight, I'm positive. And not only that, but a lot of these names are already booked up. So who does he fight? I mean, let's narrow it down here. There's 3 names that stand out right now. There's Robert Whittaker, which that fight doesn't make any sense because if Whittaker somehow wins that fight, and I shouldn't say somehow, I think Whittaker would have a good chance against Khamzat Chimaev. But the problem is if Whittaker wins and Adesanya wins against Pereira, you're not going to do a trilogy fight between Whittaker and Adesanya right off the bat here. So that fight is out of the mix. Along with the fact that Chimaev doesn't want to fight him. Neither does Robert Whittaker. They don't want to fight each other. They want to train together, right? That's the big narrative that came out of UFC 279. So we can disqualify Whittaker. Cannonier's fighting Strickland. Vettori just fought. I suppose Vettori is an option, and I think that's probably your second option at middleweight. I'll tell you who the first one is here in a second. Pereira's booked up. Brunson's booked up. To me, Paulo Costa is the fight to make. That is absolutely the fight to make at 185 if they're going to fight each other for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's a great fight. Number two, if Costa wins that fight, then he could fight for the title if Adesanya wins at UFC 281 because he's only fought him once. To me, there's an opportunity there for a rematch. So to me, Costa is absolutely the fight to make. It's an awesome matchup in general, just from a style perspective. You've got Costa, who's obviously got great striking and has picked up a win in his last fight against Luke Rockhold, the former champion. So to me, Costa is absolutely the fight to make. And here's the thing, maybe a couple fights ago, I would have said, hey, this isn't really fair to the middleweight division because of the fact that Chimaev doesn't have any ranked wins so far. But saying that, who's going to fight Adesanya if he beats Alex Pereira? And again, I'm not looking past Pereira. Pereira can absolutely win that fight. But what I'm getting at is if Adesanya wins that fight, who's he going to fight after this? So to me, Chimaev would be that emerging contender that you could potentially put in a title opportunity if he does fight at 85 next. So I kind of understand that a little bit more now. And let's get real here. When it comes to the UFC, there's no such thing as deserved, right? I mean, they've been giving title shots to fighters coming off losses before. So wouldn't shock me if he does end up fighting Costa. And if he wins, then he gets that title shot. So I can kind of see it from that perspective. But my only concern here is, does he beat Paulo Costa? Does he beat any of these guys in the top 5? I don't know. One of his big advantages at 170 was, like I said, he's bigger and stronger. He's not going to have that in this weight class, because there's some guys in this weight class that could fight at 205. In fact, Paulo Costa, when he fought Marvin Vettori, that fight was at 205. He had an issue with the weight. So I think some of the weapons that Chimaev will have might be taken away here, but hey, he also might go out there and steamroll these guys. We don't know. I wasn't expecting him to steamroll Kevin Holland. I mean, I expected him to win, but I didn't expect him to dominate Kevin Holland that badly. But let's get real here. Kevin Holland is not a top 5 middleweight. We saw him get destroyed by a lot of the top guys in the weight class here. So it'll be very interesting. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it. I think, look, I get it from the UFC's perspective as well. They need more contenders at 185. Again, assuming if Adesanya wins, if Alex Pereira wins, that changes everything. I mean, there's a ton of contenders there, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea. I just feel like maybe there's some unfinished business at 170. But like I mentioned before, if he can't make the weight, if this really is a sign that he can't make 170, then maybe this is the right choice to do as far as him moving up to 85. So I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like I said, I think Paulo Costa is the fight to make at 185. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Do you think Chimaev is done at 170? I mean, I think if his next fight is at 85, that's probably an end of the road for him in the welterweight division. I wouldn't have said that, like I said before, but now I'm kind of feeling like this might be the end of him at 170. Follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Lynch on Sports. And make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel, youtube.com/Lynch on Sports. I'm James Lynch. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.